Hello, everyone. Welcome to Steven Shinder Reviews in video form. And on this video, I'm talking about Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, this time in spoilery detail. If you've been following the channel, you know that last month, throughout April, I did a little series called Planet of the April, where I reviewed each of the Planet of the Apes films, and not just the reboot ones, but the classic pentology and even the 2001 reimagining. So I also posted a non-spoiler review of Kingdom earlier this month, and then I wanted to wait until a good chunk of people had gone out and seen this before posting my spoilery review. So Memorial Day weekend has come and passed. That was actually the weekend it was originally going to be released before they moved it up a couple weeks. So yeah, I feel like now that that long weekend has come and gone, it's a pretty good time for me to finally talk about this movie in spoilery detail. So like I said before, I love this movie. I think it's my favorite, or second favorite rather, of all of the Planet of the Apes films. I gave it a 9.5 out of 10 in my review earlier this month. And having seen it again, I still stick by that rating. It's still, really held my attention. I was really intrigued. I found it very compelling. And it's a nice step forward into the current Planet of the Apes mythology. So, right from the start, I was really surprised the first time I watched this that it began with this sort of prologue, picking up right from the end of War for the Planet of the Apes with Caesar's funeral. And I think that was really nice to throw in there because, there might be some people who come into this movie, and even though it's motion capture and the apes look similar to how they do in the previous three movies, this undeniably shows that this is in that same universe as the Caesar trilogy. We even get a little cameo of Maurice during this funeral. I think we even saw Rocket. There was a really young looking chimp who I wondered if maybe this was Cornelius Caesar's son, but maybe it's just another really young chimp. Nova is nowhere in sight, but yeah, this was really a nice way to set the tone because it really ties into the themes of Caesar's legacy, which persists throughout this film. As they do this funeral pyre for Caesar and do this, the thing with the arms that means apes together strong, like they all do it in unison. And there's this monolithic looking rock up in front of them that has the home symbol on it, the symbol that was originally from Caesar's window at the Rodman house and is now basically a symbol meaning home. There's something that feels kind of like the beginning of 2001 A Space Odyssey with that moment, this monolithic looking rock and the apes like gathered around. I kind of got that vibe looking at this the second time around. And then we get Giacchino's score that we've heard in the previous couple films. Before there's this time skip. The text says many generations later. Behind the scenes articles have stated that this is 300 years later. I'm not really sure why they kept it ambiguous within the film itself. Maybe it's just in case, I don't know, maybe some later installment wants to say, oh, it's been this amount of years since all that stuff. So maybe they're trying to play it safe in that fashion. But yeah, centuries later, we pick up with this trio of chimpanzees. We have Noah, who's our main character in this film, along with his friends Suna and Anaya. Now, prior to this, we haven't really gotten that many speaking female chimps. I don't think Caesar's wife, Cornelia, really spoke at all in the previous films. So it was really refreshing to have Suna have a speaking part. I would have loved to have seen more of her and Anaya as well, I suppose. Like they do have parts in the early parts of this film and then in the later parts, but maybe in a subsequent film they would have expanded roles, perhaps. So they're climbing around. They get to this eagle's nest that has three eggs, and they each want to claim one because what we learn about their clan, which is called Eagle Clan, is that they are a clan of chimpanzees who raise eagles basically from birth. And it's very fascinating to see how this particular clan of apes, what their culture is, because this is a little thing that's not in the previous films, not even in the classic ones or the 2001 reimagining. So I really appreciate when these newer films try to think outside the box and think, what would the culture of these apes be? And it's not derived from any previous thing, so it's really adding something new. And there's even this law that, according to their clan, they can't uh, take eagle eggs without leaving at least one in the nest. And we find out right away that Noah really is a stickler for the law. And this is really important to remember throughout the film. But yeah, so Noah suggests that his friends take the two eggs that they can take, but then he notices another eagle nest. It's even a higher climb. And this seems to be possibly the ruins of Los Angeles. There's a lot of vegetation that's grown over all the buildings. And so it really has that, lost civilization type of vibe. Uh, so Noah, he struggles, almost falls, a dangerous fall, but he manages to get an egg for himself. And when the trio is on their way away from this place, they notice that in the distance, they saw a human, which they refer to as echoes. And I don't think that's in any previous Planet of the Apes thing either. This terminology referring to a human as an echo. I think it's really clever. And again, thinking outside the box with what their terminology would be. And these apes still use sign language, and their way of speaking still feels like a natural evolution from how the speaking apes were in the previous films. You get stuff like Anaya saying something to the effect of Noah scared, not Anaya, basically saying Noah seems very scared of the possibility of an echo, whereas Anaya himself is not scared. But yeah, the Echo, who will meet formally in a bit, goes through this train tunnel, and they pick up this cloth. I think it is that has a bit of blood. Um, I think I don't remember whose blood it is, but basically the cloth is evidence of this Echo. So when they return to their village, there's a nice moment where there are these really young, like kid chimps who are sort of running up to the trio as they're riding back on horseback. And it kind of reminded me of when, in the beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring film, when Gandalf returns to the Shire for the first time in a while, these kid hobbits are like running after him asking for fireworks. It kind of had that vibe to me. These chimps are like really curious about what the older chimps have been up to with the climbing and whatnot. So Noah speaks to his mother, and I also like the detail that these chimps also apparently have hunted for fish. So they have a fish on this sort of hanging on this wooden thing. Noah goes to see his father, another one of the elders in the village, and who seems like he's like the master of training eagles and whatnot. These buildings are they look like they're made of wooden, some sort of wooden stick type things. So Noah climbs up and meets with his dad, and he tells him that they spotted an echo, and you get the sense that this is very much like the forbidden zone in the classic films. There is a rule against going beyond a certain boundary. So there are these rules that the elders have put in place. And yeah, I quite like the way that we're learning more about this world. So later that night, the trio each have their eggs because the next day is when they're supposed to begin, I guess, this sort of ritual or ceremony of, leveling up, becoming, starting their paths of raising these eagle eggs and whatnot. But the echo that had been seen earlier has somehow made it into this village, and she bumps into uh, Noah, and so it breaks the egg, and he has to go look for a new one. And I quite like how his friends are, kind enough to offer to wait a while. I believe probably another year for Noah if he's unable to have an egg for the ceremony the next day. Like, they are loyal, they're willing to wait with him, but Noah says he has to find another. So that night he sneaks out on horseback, trying to look for another eagle egg, but he comes across this other sect of apes, uh, also on horseback, of course, and they seem to be looking for the echo. And this is something that even on the second time around, I'm not really sure is really clear, like why they're looking for the echo. Like, she's really smart, but I don't know how these other apes know that and how they came to realize she could be a means to their own goals. But yeah, these apes, they work for someone, well, a bonobo known as Proximus Caesar. So, a very uh, scary leader who is misusing the Caesar name and redefining like what it means to follow Caesar. Again, it's kind of like how, in our society, or in various human civilizations, there are reinterpretations of different religions, and people do certain things in the names of religious or historical figures or even celebrities, and sometimes there can be a lot of bad that comes with that, depending on the practice. And so these apes see Noah's horse, I think it's Noah's horse, and basically find the village of Eagle Clan and abduct all the inhabitants so they can bring them to their own settlement, which we'll see later. And Noah's father is killed in all this. Noah hears the Caesar name and he survives, but the next morning he sees that everyone's gone. He buries his father. This, I just realized, this really shows that the customs of what to do with a dead body has a bit of variation. 300 years before this, we saw that there was a funeral pyre for Caesar, but here we see that, I suppose, Eagle Clan's custom is to bury the body and stack rocks on top of it. At least that's what Noah does. But when he explores, he's looking for his lost clan, and his father's eagle seems to be following him. He makes it to this, what seems to be, I think this is LAX, Los Angeles airport, the ruins of it anyway. He meets an orangutan named Raka, and Raka is also, he was in this place with someone else who is now having his own funeral pyre. We see the skeleton burning. So, the customs of what to do with a dead body in various ape cultures, I guess it varies. Or, yeah, it's something I just like realized right now. I would have liked to know who this other ape who was living with Raka was, because Raka says he was my village, and he says that they were doing research. So at the very least, it could have been another scholar researching humankind. But I do wonder if there's maybe more to the relationship. Again, that's something I kind of would have like explored a little bit more, maybe just a couple more lines. But yeah, and maybe it was another orangutan. But regardless, Rocca shows Noah these books and explains that these symbols have meaning, and humans were able to read. Or I'm trying to remember what the whole thing was. I think he knows that humans and apes. Um, well, like I got the sense. I'd have to look at this part again, but it sounded like he thought that at some point the apes looked after humans, and there's this mural that shows humans who are clothed, so very different from how the echoes of this particular time period are. And Rocca is a follower of Caesar. I suppose the other ape who also researched with him was a follower. And he believes that other people, other apes are misusing the name, the legacy, and he talks about how Caesar was merciful toward humans. And so when Rocca joins Noah on his journey, and Rocca also happens to have a horse, they encounter the Echo again, and they camp out together. Noah is very reluctant. He kind of sees her as the trouble starter of all this, but Rocca says that Caesar would have shown mercy, and um, tells him to give him this bit of clothing, which I believe was his father's, what his father wore. I'd have to look at that part again. But yeah, it really reminded me of the ending of Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, where Caesar, a different Caesar, the one played by Roddy McDowell, is is convinced by Lisa to show mercy to the humans. So yeah, it kind of remind me of that. And Rocca, he says to give her food because this time, these parts where she's been following them and going into the village, it seems like she was looking for food. And Rocca names her Nova and says that they are all named Nova. I'm not really sure why. So that tells us that the legends of Caesar, what is known is that the name Nova did make it out, but maybe he doesn't know the finer details of how the kid from War for the Planet of the Apes got the name Nova. So it's interesting how that name carries over. And in the lead up to this, there was a bit of confusion about this character, Freya Allen's character's name, and it seemed like the name Nova, if that was her name, her actual name, it would have felt kind of repetitive. But I think the way that's laid out here, it makes sense, the way that it plays out. I do think it's kind of strange that it's never mentioned how similar Nova sounds to Noah. I almost kind of wish Noah had a different name. I suppose it's so that, well, there's a reason coming up soon in the summary, but later on there's something involving water, so I guess maybe that's part of why they decide to name him Noah. But yeah, there's never a line about how Noah and Nova sound kind of similar. But regardless, later they find this observatory where Noah looks into the telescope, and I guess this Nova looks as well. And the next morning, he describes it to Rocca as a tunnel devouring light. So it sounds like he might have seen a black hole. We don't really see it from his perspective, but yeah, it might be a black hole. I guess one could wonder if maybe there's a wormhole involved as well. But it's, I guess, a little seed to plant there. They continue traveling and come across another group of humans. They seem very primitive, unable to speak. They're drinking from this water, and there are also some zebras, which seem very odd to these apes. I guess Rocka and Noah have never seen zebras. And this was a moment that made me question, wait, where in the world is this movie supposed to take place? But I guess maybe zoos have something to do with this. It does feel like this is supposed to still be in California, and these apes, they speak English. But then the group, Proxima Caesar's group, attacks and captures some humans. They're still looking for this Nova who is with Rocka and Noah. So we learn, all during this action. I quite appreciate how there's a lot of time between the very action heavy scenes. Some of the scenes in between are just, traveling around and vibing and learning more about the world. And I really appreciate the pacing of all of that. But at one point, this Nova is about to be captured, and she yells out Noah's name. She's like, Noah, to get his attention so that he can save her while he rides a horse. And he does pick her up. I guess so. Yelling out Noah, I feel also echoes, haha, pun intended, I guess, Caesar saying no as the first thing that he said back in Rise of the Planet of the Apes. So they're able, Noah, Rocka, and this Nova, no, we'll get her name in a moment, I promise, are able to evade this group of apes, and they let their horses run loose, I guess as a distraction. And uh, Noah tries to tell Rocka that she spoke. He doesn't really believe it, and then she says, I have a name. My name is May." So her name is actually May, and they learn a bit from her that you know she was told by her mother to be silent in order to evade getting noticed and captured and whatnot, I suppose. And she mentions that humans used to be dominant over apes, and the virus almost killed all the humans. It's really strange watching these movies with the hindsight of the pandemic that happened in our world, and that was a few years after the Caesar trilogy had concluded. It's just kind of strange to watch these with that hindsight. And she says that she is looking for a book that will help humans speak with each other, something more or less to that effect. So we know she's trying to get to what we later find out is the vault that Proxima Caesar is very curious about. But yeah, I'm still not sure at what point did Proxima Caesar's apes realize that they need her, and how they found out about her when they start hunting her. I'm still kind of confused about all of that. But yeah, they continue traveling, and almost they encounter Proxima Caesar's apes again after seeing these scarecrow looking things. Another callback to the 1968 film. There are even some music cues that feel reminiscent of the score for that film, which are used pretty cleverly. They're not too overt. It doesn't feel too nostalgia baity. But yeah, they have this struggle on this bridge, and May almost drowns, but Rocka saves her, but he ends up drowning. His last words being, apes together strong, or together strong, at least part of that phrase. So, passing on Caesar's wisdom and whatnot. And by this point, Noah also has the symbol that Rocco is wearing around his neck, the home symbol, representing the order of Caesar. So Noah and May are captured by this sect of apes. They are, bound, and they're taken along the shore and over to this settlement where some apes are forced to do some work, and it's outside of this bunker. I've read somewhere that this might be the Coronado area. I'm not 100% sure, but it is definitely or it looks like it's along the west coast. And we get this, the crowd around Proximus Caesar. It feels kind of like a twisted version of religious worship. It's like the Church of Proximus Caesar, getting people to repeat "apes together, strong," and like using those words, but also saying "what a wonderful day," and everyone reciting back and forth what he's saying, kind of unintentionally or intentionally reminding me, at least, of Beneath the Planet of the Apes, where there's that mutant worshiping scene where they're worshiping the bomb. It was a really strange scene, that one. But May and Noah are taken inside. There's this human male named Trevathan who can also speak. So Proximus Caesar is using him to help him with stuff. They want to get this bunker open. I think they also refer to it as a vault because it's supposed to have stuff inside that, it's stuff that was from when humans were dominant and might make Proximus Caesar a bit more powerful. And May and there's also some stuff that May hasn't told Noah. I'm trying to remember what bit of knowledge it was that she kept from him that was revealed to him here. I'm trying to remember if this was where she revealed that humans used to be dominant, or if that was earlier, like I thought it was. And again, I've seen this movie twice, but I remember there was some revelation here was that made Noah really skeptical of May. Okay, so I think this is where May mentions that there is a book within this bunker that'll help humans speak. I believe that's what happens, but yeah, there's a question of like whether they can all trust each other, and Noah does reunite with his friends and with his mom, but Proximus Caesar is in charge now, and therefore what he says is the law. And Noah has this like moment to himself where he's like, "But the law is wrong." And his father's eagle, who has been following him, lands on his arm. Throughout this film, he's been struggling with having the eagle bond with him. It would scratch him at first and it was a running thing, but now it recognizes him as someone to bond with. And in the trailers for this, I got the impression that this moment, like the law is wrong. I thought it was going to involve, apes' attitudes towards humans and um, treating humans as lesser. And I thought this was going to be like a challenge against the elders of Noah's clan for keeping secrets away from the younger apes. Because, as far back as the 1968 film, that's been a theme in Planet of the Apes, questioning authority, never trust anyone over 30 or whatever the line is, because chances are that the people who are older might be keeping secrets from the younger folks who are more curious and want to know like what really happened in the past. But no, this line was about Proximus Caesar's law, about some of these apes being from captured clans and having to answer to him now. And he says that they're not clans, they're a kingdom. And I read somewhere that one of the working titles for this film, well, there were two of them, of which the one they went with was Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, but the other one was Empire of the Planet of the Apes. And I guess that they didn't go with Empire because, probably because Godzilla X Kong, the new Empire, and maybe even Ghostbusters Frozen Empire were gonna come out. But hey, maybe if there had been more space between these releases, maybe it could have gotten that title. But I don't know. I think Kingdom makes for a good title. So a plan is formed between Noah, May, and Suna, and Anaya kind of takes some convincing to get recruited. He's afraid at first, and kind of going full circle to the beginning of the film when he says he's not afraid, but very quickly changes his tune. They plant some explosives, and they're planning to climb the cliff to get into this other entrance into the bunker. But then Trevathan sees what they're trying to do, and he's given the chance to join them, but he declines. And it's kind of ambiguous. I like how ambiguous it is that we don't know whether he was going to tell on them or whether he was just going to go back and pretend he didn't see anything. But in any case, May strangles him to death, and the apes are very shaken up by this because you got to remember there's that law, apes shall not kill apes. So you get the sense that this is very alien to them. And they don't say it through dialogue. I like how it feels very show, don't tell. So they dump his body into the water. They climb the cliff. There's this cute moment where it seems that Noah has picked up the word shit from May when they're kind of in a dangerous situation. So they go further into the bunker, explore a bit, turn on the lights. The apes find these picture books. One of them has a zoo and humans looking at the animals in cages. So they see what life was like when humans were dominant. But meanwhile, May secretly finds this cipher. So it kind of makes you question whether she was lying about it being a book or if she was just putting it in terms that they might understand because they don't know what a cipher is. But she also sees an armory full of guns, and she takes one of them and then reunites with the apes. They go back to the front door, the entrance that's by the beach, the shoreline. It opens up. We see Noah's mom, but then Proximus Caesar and his forces surround them. And Noah's mom is in danger, but then May shoots at lightning, one of Proximus Caesar's, um, you know, uh, followers. So Proximus Caesar, you can tell that he wants the power and asks if there's more of those in the place. And May, she is fine with risking the lives of all of the apes who are in here. Eagle Clan is all in here now. She says, "I'm sorry, he can't have it," and she triggers the explosive that uh, causes stuff to break, and it floods the bunker with ocean water while she's standing on something on the side where she's not in danger. So the apes have to climb to survive, going further and further into the bunker, trying to get high to the cliff entrance. Then the gorilla Silva, one of Proximus's followers, he tries to kill Noah, but Noah gets him into the space where he can't really make it through, and the water kills him. He drowns. So again, it really begs that question of, did Noah kill Ape right here, or is May to blame for the flooding? It just makes you ask those questions. So Noah and his clan make it to the top of the cliff. Proximus beats up Noah, pretty much almost kills him. And you gotta wonder why Eagle Clan doesn't just stand up against him, as a united front. And my theory is that they have their law, ape shall not kill ape, so maybe they're afraid of accidentally killing Proximus, even though he's clearly the evil person here. Or maybe they're so stuck in their ways of following the law, that type of thing. But Noah starts humming this tune because the Eagles are nearby, and this is a song. It's foreshadowed earlier on that this song is what his clan sings to eagles in order to bond with them. And so his clan joins in on the chant, and it causes the eagles to fly to Proximus, and the eagles directly make him fall off of a cliff and die. So again, did Ape really kill Ape here? Is that a little loophole? Just it brings forth that question. So Eagle Clan is able to go home a bit later. It looks like they're rebuilding, and Noah seems to be in a leadership position. But then May stops by to say goodbye, and Noah feels upset, and I mean, understandably so. His mother almost died because of the flooding, but he thinks that humans just want everything for themselves, and it's like what's left for apes, that type of thing. And he wonders what Rocca would have to say about all this, and what Caesar, the original Caesar, Andy Circus Caesar, would say about all this. And he wonders, can humans and apes ever live together peacefully? And we see a close up of the gun that May is hiding behind her back, and she says, "I don't know." And this got an emotional response from. So the first screening I went to, there was a kid sitting near me who said, "Oh no," when it had that close up of the gun. And at the second screening I went to, there was someone sitting next to me who said, "Oh my god," when it showed the gun. And during that second screening, I was tearing up a little bit because during the close up of the gun, because I don't know, maybe I guess maybe it just made me really think about, like, why can't everyone just get along, not just in this movie, but in the real world. So May leaves, and Noah has like the symbol, the Caesar order symbol. He's wearing it. Um, so yeah, there's that, and May goes to where there are other talking humans in this hidden base that has a satellite dish on top of it. And these humans are wearing like hazmat suits. So, still very cautious about the air of the outside world because of the virus that annihilated humankind or made them less intelligent. So, again, it's really strange watching this with the hindsight of the pandemic. But May gives them the cipher, and they insert it into the console, like deeper into this base, and it allows the satellite dish to make contact with another human base somewhere in Indiana. So they're able to speak to each other. So this is what May meant when she said it's a book that will allow humans to speak with one another. And meanwhile, Noah and Suna go to the observatory. I guess this is their first date or something. I don't know. Suna looks through the telescope and sees something. We don't see her perspective, but there is, a shot of the night sky. We see stars, and it kind of makes you wonder, like, is this foreshadowing like the astronauts that disappeared in Rise? Are they gonna come back down? But I think at the very least, the next movie could have apes trying to interpret what, I don't know, a streak across the night sky might actually mean, and there could be misinterpretations and false prophecies and stuff like that. If there's been interviews where I'm not really sure if the creatives want to tell the astronaut story, and I kind of feel like maybe part of that is an overreaction to the reception for the 2001 Mark Wahlberg Planet of the Apes film. But yeah, you get these interviews. Well, way back during the time of Rise, uh, Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver. Hey, I wonder if that's where Rocca's name comes from. Say, "Oh, Taylor's gone up again," and then more recently, you have them saying they had like an idea that, oh, maybe they can make 9 films, and people sort of ran with this headline. I don't think they have a detailed plan. I think maybe just a broad strokes idea, because it seems like Wes Ball came up with the pitch of setting this particular film centuries later as opposed to right after war. So I think it's a very broad plan. If there is a plan, it's very fluid. I don't think there are concrete details, but the director Wes Ball has said that if he had his way, these films would all build up to the 1968 film and then end right before, and then people could just watch that one and the whole thing all over again or something. And comments like that kind of confuse people into thinking that this is in the same continuity as the 1968 film, when there are details that would make that not really work within these films. And so I kind of wonder if maybe he means it like in a spiritual sense, like thematically, this kind of builds up to something similar to the 1968 film. So whether the astronauts ever land, I don't know. I think at the latest, I would think maybe the end of a 6th film in these newer films, but the comments make it sound like maybe it would be the ninth film or not at all. So I don't know how interested they are in doing that. But I'm still very curious to see what would happen in the next film. I hope there's a next film. I hope the box office numbers are enough to warrant it, because this is an incredible film. It's a triumph. It's and really moves the mythology forward. And it's been a weird time for the box office these days. So I hope that because it's such a weird time and there are all these weird results with recent movies, I hope there's some leeway in moving forward with another one of these films because I want to see these particular characters continue in this era. So, yeah, I'm very happy with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Hope this universe continues. And I guess that's it for me for now. Steven Shinder reviews in video form, and I'll see you all next time.